Hello, here's what's been happening in February. At the end of January, the colours were mush. The wet weather continued and the clay soil is saturated. After a couple of weeks, the mush has gone, just some short stems left. I guess they were eaten by slugs and snails, and there's one chewing on a shoot. Time for some plastic bottles, I think. When I was putting them in place, I was hoping there was nothing lurking in the soil where I was putting the bottle, and I checked a couple of days later and found this small snail on the inside, so I decided to offer them some beer. The pot had only been out a few minutes when I spotted this chap. I watched to see which way he would go. I was surprised to see that he turned left and went up the bottle. But would he go in? I had put a barrier of fixed vapour rub around the neck. He reached this and then decided to turn back, so maybe that did act as a deterrent. I was so busy watching this little black slug that I didn't notice the many other slugs appearing and heading to the bar. I found the third comisia, which had been hiding under the fern leaves. This is how big they are now, and thankfully the slugs don't seem to like them. The meadow grass is looking a real mess. There are soggy worm casts and it looks like animals have flattened a path. The tall grass has died back over the rocks and stones, but there is new growth at the ends. I decided to cut back this soggy mess, carefully cutting by hand, stretching over to avoid standing in the mud. I made a pile of the cuttings, this way I can see where I have cut and then put the cuttings back on top afterwards, in case anything was living in there or if it was using it for cover. I did only find a few small slugs and a couple of small spiders. I'm hoping the grass will then shoot from the bottom and the old grass will either be slug eaten or will dry out. The crocus are slowly appearing. I had hoped to create blankets of them in these areas. I bought, I think, 75 bulbs and I thought that was a lot, but apparently not. The early blooming crocus are flowering, little islands of colour in the mud, but still the slugs find them. Sometimes they have lasted less than a day. This couple pushing through the hellebore were planted autumn 2024. The fresh growth at the foot of the hellebore is now growing thick and fast. In the bulb trough, some hyacinths that are now a few years old are also being eaten. And that looks like a wild tulip bud has been chewed off. Back in the caught-in steel fence bed, these tulips have so far been left alone. I decided it was time to cut down the dead tobacco plant. Now we can see the white hyacinths that were planted last year. They are growing fast now. Everything is starting to wake up. The ornamental quince, and these are some white foxglove seeds that I scattered in these pots at the end of summer. I'm going to split some up into their own pots so they can get a bit bigger. I soak them in water so they come apart easily and give them their own pot. And these are the seeds growing very slowly in the house.